Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
Back here on WrestleRant Radio for January 23rd, 2025. We're live with Mr. Marceau in 2025, talking all the latest in the world of wrestling. Lots to get into. Mr. Marceau, brother, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I think we're live now. I think the audio is working. This is the fourth time of me trying to go live here on YouTube while we're talking. Audio issues the first couple weeks. Last week you sounded fine. My mic sounded off, so if anyone's tuning in live, please let me know and make sure it's working, because I think there was a point last week where you can only hear Mr. Marceau and myself was muted. But I think we're good now. I think we're good now here live on January 23rd, 2025. So, Mr. Marceau, we're not going to waste any time here. New episodes every single Thursday. WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, all the usual podcast platforms. Give us a follow, check out the show every single week, and join us in the chat if you can't hear live on this Thursday morning. I got to give a brief update, Mr. Marceau, on something before we get into the women's wrestling talk. There's a lot of women's wrestling talk this week. So we're bringing back your old title of Senior Diva columnist from Next Day Wrestling from many years ago. I don't get your 2 cents on a lot of things. But before we get into that stuff, I do got to bring this up, because we talked about it for a little bit last week. Corey Graves resurfacing on NXT this past Tuesday. So obviously we talked last week about the social media post that he put up and his frustration, all that other sort of stuff. Didn't take long for them to work out their issues, because he popped up on Tuesday on commentary alongside Vic Joseph and Booker T. So I guess I can't say I'm too surprised in the current climate of WWE that he would, find a way to work it out with them and remain on television. But I didn't think it would happen so soon, but I can't say I'm complaining. So what were your thoughts seeing Corey Graves back on NXT TV on Tuesday night? Give me 1 second. I'm not sure if I can hear you. Oh, Mr. Marceau, can you hear me? I don't know if I can hear you. Mr. Marceau, can you hear me? I can kind of hear you a little bit. I don't know if I can hear you. Give me a second here. Let's see. Hey, Mr. Marceau, can you hear me now? Let's see. He said he can't hear me. All right, give me 1 sec. I'll give you a call back. All right, let's see. Transfer. Trying to figure it on my end here. Let's hang up on Mr. Marceau. Thank you for joining in the chat, Mr. Marceau. This makes it a lot easier. Oh, wait, hold on. Give me a sec. Oh, what the fuck? All right. Mr. Marceau, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
There we go. My bad. All right. Thank you for joining in the chat, because now I think I fixed that issue. You're more of a genius than I fucking am. I'll tell you that much. Hopefully this works. I'm still trying to figure out the Bluetooth on my phone, but I think this should work. But anyway, so I just want to get your thoughts on Corey Graves resurfacing on NXT on Tuesday night after the drama from last week. Were you surprised to see them work it out so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think I watched on delay. I watched it yesterday, so I saw people tweeting about it. And then I guess honestly, at first when I watched it, didn't even cross my mind that he was gone. And then I saw someone tweet about it when I was kind of watching NXT, so I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm not surprised. I think it was maybe just a minor blow up. I mean, I get it. Guy has been busting his butt the last couple of years on Raw and SmackDown. He's pretty much been the color commentary guy and got demoted, it looks like, to the Pat McAfee. And I mean, there's some professional frustration, so I do understand that. But I think cooler heads prevailed, and he was back in NXT, and he's 1,000 times better than Booker T. So no complaints on my end.
Yeah, no, that's the part that not really surprised me. The fact that he was back so soon surprised me, but the fact that, I mean, it's not surprising they haven't gotten rid of Booker T, but the fact that Corey Graves is now there. We have a three-man booth for NXT. It's Vic Joseph, we have Booker T, and Corey Graves. I said this on Tuesday after NXT was over, after I finished the show, and I tweeted this out. Why the fuck is Booker T still on commentary? I know they don't want to say no to him, and maybe it's not a nice thing to let him go. What the fuck is the point of keeping him around Booker T at this point? He serves no purpose, especially if you have Corey Graves there on color.
No, I completely agree. I think with Booker, it's more just random noises and stupid catchphrases that he uses. It doesn't me, it makes me just not want to listen to it. So Corey being added, it kind of made me listen to it, the commentary, a lot more than when it's just Vic and Booker. And like you said, I don't know why they keep Booker. Maybe it's on that Legends deal and that they're just going to use him as a commentator at this point, but he's not good and he takes away from the product. So I would just let go of Booker. Maybe just keep him on a Legends deal. He can go to Fan Fest and sign stuff, but it should just be Vic and Corey on commentary.
Yeah, no, it really should be. There's absolutely no reason to have Booker T still around at this point. I agree. Just relegate him to the, autograph circuit. They can bring him in for the occasional appearance. Like JBL made a quick appearance on commentary on Monday night. He was around for a brief minute, and then, after that, it was like there's no real reason to have him on commentary for more than just one match. I think we're kind of at that point with Booker T, so I just don't really see the point. But I did want to address that before we got to the other stuff. I think now that I'm on the phone, it should work. I can hear you perfectly fine. I don't know if it works as well on the stream. So Alexis, if you're still there, she's like my IT girl, so she's still listening now. Let me know if it comes across clearly on both my end and Mr. Marceau's end. But the first thing I wanted to bring up to you, Mr. Marceau, on the women's wrestling front, there's a lot of topics to discuss, of course. On Sunday night, TNA had their Genesis pay-per-view. Very good show. Joe Hendry, new TNA World Champion. Would not be surprised to see him. And the men's Royal Rumble match coming up next weekend. But one of the other talking points coming out of that show was this great show stealer of a match that Jordynne Grace had with one Tessa Blanchard. Now, it's widely believed to be Jordynne Grace's TNA swan song. Her contract expired at that pay-per-view. She was actually reported to have been seen earlier this week at the Performance Center show. So she is seemingly wasting no time and jumping ship over to WWE, which has been expected for a long time now. Ever since that Royal Rumble appearance a year ago, then she did the whole NXT thing with Jordynne Grace, or with Roxanne Perez over the NXT Women's Championship. So she officially looks to be headed to WWE. Your thoughts on whether she should go to NXT first, which I don't really think is necessary when you have Zarya there and Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, all the other women they already have down in NXT, or if she should just report straight to the main roster, if that would be the better bet for her right out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to bring it to the make sure that you have something to do. Complaint, our biggest kind of push is if you're going to bring someone up, make sure there's some kind of plan. Just bringing her up on Raw or SmackDown, just beating a couple lower tier people and then just doing nothing with her won't help her in the end. So I think she should go to the main roster. NXT is already they're kind of so full of women that I don't think she's needed down there, and I don't think she needs to go to NXT. So I think going to the main roster is definitely in her horizon. But like I said, just make sure there's a plan. And I think she's good. And if you have a plan, I think she'll be a flourishing star on the main roster. But I think a lot of the times they just bring these people in, they don't do a lot, and then they're like another person. So hopefully they treat her right, and they have a plan for her.
I mean, could you realistically see a scenario, and Alexis, thank you for saying that it sounds good. I appreciate the feedback. Do you think there's realistically a scenario where, and I've seen this, some people say this, and I even said this a number of months ago as well, I don't really think it's going to happen, that she could not only enter the Women's Royal Rumble again, this time as officially as a WWE superstar, but win the entire thing and then go on to WrestleMania and face Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship? I feel like that'd be a great attraction match for WrestleMania 41.
I mean, you're talking about, I mean, there's a chance. I wouldn't bet her $5 probably. I think it's a chance, but, like, I mean, she's great and all, but she still isn't, like, unknown enough that, like, I feel like you probably need to build her up a little bit more to be, like, a marquee WrestleMania match. I know you, like, don't want to see Becky and Rhea again, but, I mean, I think that's the direction we're probably going in. Either Io, I would rather probably see Io and Rhea if I was going to be just 100% honest with you. And then we could do Becky and Lyra, kind of like prop that up a little bit. But, I mean, I think it would be cool, but I think you need to build Jordynne up a little bit more so that she's like a bigger deal. Like, it'd be tough to build her up in 3 months when probably most of the people don't really know who she is besides that one Rumble appearance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could work if she were to come in right out of the gate and win the Rumble. I mean, yeah, not a lot of people are going to know who she is, but I feel like you could establish her out of the gate if she were to win such a big match. You position her in a big feud with Rhea Ripley right from the get-go. I feel like it could work. But, I mean, are you included in that same group? I know you mentioned it's much more likely, which I agree with. I mean, to be realistic here, I think it is much more realistic, or much more likely, that we see Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley again for the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. At WrestleMania 41 in a rematch from last year. But you're in that group too, right? Where it's like, I mean, I'm not saying you don't want to see the match, but you would much rather see Becky and Lyra. I know we talked about that a couple of weeks ago for the Women's Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, Becky and Lyra for the story that you can help build it up a little bit, give it a little marquee on WrestleMania. I doubt if Chelsea Green's still the Women's United States Championship that she'll be in like a prominent singles match. That'll probably be like a multi-woman match, but with Lyra, if she's facing Becky, that could be like a singles match, kind of like build the title up a little bit. And like I said, I mean, her and Rhea would be good, Becky that is, but I think I'd rather see Io and Rhea at this point. I feel like they've been building Io up enough that it makes sense that it'd be her and Rhea instead of Becky. I mean, I like I said, I think those two matches plus Charlotte and Tiffany would be 3 great singles women's matches, and like I said, you could have like a multi-woman match for the U.S. title, and the tag titles will probably have a multi-woman match as well. So I think those 3 alone is good enough for the Mania, and then maybe depending on what you do with Bianca and Jade or that whole story, maybe get a singles match out of it. But I think the 3 we've just proposed would be pretty good for Mania.
Brother, Rhea and Io as a Mania attraction would be awesome. I know we've talked about it before, but that would be a great fucking match to do. I am still saying, and I talked about this before, we talked about it months ago, you just said it yourself, Bianca and Jade I feel like would be perfect for Mania. I don't know if they're going in that direction. Jade's not even back yet. I thought she wasn't actually hurt, but then I saw that she was back at the Performance Center this past week. I have no fucking clue what's going on. But that would be a great Mania match, because I still think to this day, we have never had a singles women's match at Mania that wasn't like bras and panties and that dumb shit they were doing like 20 years ago at Mania. The bed wrestling or whatever the fuck that shit was from, WrestleMania 19, WrestleMania 20. The nightgown. Oh. Shit is trash. I don't...
Show some respect.
I don't think they've done a women's match at Mania that like made sense, that was an actual attraction, that wasn't for a women's championship. We're not talking tag team matches or 6 women's. We're talking singles matches. And Bianca and Jade could be that. It doesn't even need a championship. I don't know if they're doing it. Maybe Jade and Naomi, if Naomi's the one who attacked her. I would find it hard to believe that Naomi was the one who attacked her and then we don't get Naomi involved in some form or fashion at Mania. Maybe it's a triple threat. I don't know. But just something to keep in mind. But yeah, a lot of different ways they can go with the women at WrestleMania. Now, I did mention in that match on Sunday, Jordynne Grace losing that match to Tessa Blanchard. It was an awesome match. And then I put out on Twitter, I'm not saying I agree with this necessarily, but I tweeted this because I feel like it's going to be true, that if Tessa Blanchard, after that performance in that match, and not only that match, but like every match she has going forward and whatever, because I haven't really seen her work since she left TNA 5 years ago. She was the TNA World Champion, not for the men, or not for the women actually. She was the men's World Champion She won the men's world championship, beat Sami Callihan for it, and then she left and she didn't show up to work, and they fired her. There was a whole, dramatic situation surrounding that. But prior to that point, the weekend that she won the championship was when that whole controversy broke out, and I'm sure we talked about it at the time 5 years ago. It was actually 5 years ago this month that she won the TNA World Championship, but it was the day before that she put out something on Twitter saying that, oh yeah, women should support other women, blah, blah, blah. And then she just opened up this whole can of worms with the rest of the women in the women's wrestling scene, of women coming out with stories about her, calling her a racist, pretty specific stories too, not just random allegations, but it's a lot of heinous stuff. And just on top of the usual bullying, I guess she was already known for. And then other women came out with other stories in the months that followed as well. That apparently was not enough for TNA to not put the championship on her. Not only did they not fire her, they put the belt on her anyway that weekend, probably hoping it would blow over. And to an extent it did. It's not like she was getting the chance that she got this past weekend of the pay-per-view. She got she's a racist chant, or you're a racist or whatever. She wasn't getting those chants 5 years ago in TNA. She's getting them now. I don't know if she was getting them in Mexico while she was gone. But anyway, back to my original point. I haven't seen her work since then. I forgot how good she was in the ring for someone that's a pretty bad person from what it sounds like on all the reports. And not just the reports. I mean, there's a lot of women that have come out with a lot of different stories. It's hard to say that every single one is inaccurate. But my bigger point is WWE at some point, honestly, with the fact that she's working with TNA, I'm not saying she'll be in the Women's Rumble next weekend. I just think I could see a scenario where if she can kind of be on her best behavior, so to speak, I could see WWE come calling to her at some point in the next couple of years, or AEW. They haven't touched her in 5 years because I think no one wanted to be the first one to kind of have to make that call and be like, oh yeah, we're going to make that, reach out the olive branch, so to speak, and touch the toxic Tessa Blanchard. But TNA did that, and for better or for worse, and I could see a situation in a couple years where she ends up in WWE, where she should have been a long time ago if she wasn't doing this dumb shit and saying this dumb shit. And it seems like she's constantly putting her foot in her mouth and not really showing any signs of accountability. So I know you're not a big TNA viewer, Mr. Marceau, but I want to get your thoughts in light of this whole situation. Could you see her back in WWE at some point, despite the previous allegations and her not really coming clean about any of it so far?
No, I think 100% I could see her coming back if she stays in trouble. I think no one's ever argued that she's a great wrestler, and she's always been a good wrestler since she's debuted in Mae Classic, and like you said, she's always been known as one of the better women wrestlers. Obviously, the out-of-the-ring stuff has kind of caught up to her and kind of put her on the back burner for a little bit. Like you said, was in TNA, kind of been blackballed for a while, and now she's coming back. I guess, she never made the situation better.
Yeah.
I mean, a simple apology probably. I know she was younger at the time. We're all dumb and we're younger and don't think a lot. I mean, this was also like 5 years ago. I'm not sure exactly how old she is now. I'm assuming she's closer to 30, so maybe she finally kind of got her head on straight. But, I mean, when we're all younger, we probably said a lot of dumb things that we probably regret now. But once you get older, you get wiser, and hopefully that's the case with her because she is a great wrestler. It just seems like the out of the ring issues are what's keeping her back. So hopefully were just younger, dumb, immature things that kind of hurt her stock now. And hopefully she can rebuild it and stay on her best behavior and kind of be a good person. But like you said, I think this could have probably not been avoided, but the blowback probably would have been less if she just kind of, said I'm sorry, and I don't know, it's just 2 words. It's not really that hard to say it, but she never really did that. So I think that's kind of her biggest hiccup, is that she just never kind of acknowledged that she said it and did those things. And a simple, I'm sorry, I was young and whatever. Like, I think people make mistakes. So I think people would have been more open to accepting it than her just not saying anything and been like, whatever. So, like you said, she's a great wrestler. So I think if she keeps herself out of trouble, I wouldn't be surprised she goes to one of the major companies just because she is so good in the ring. I mean, these companies, especially WWE, throughout the years have dealt with people that are bad people or like just obnoxious people. I mean, Shawn Michaels, you hear about him in the 90s, was like the biggest prick of all time. And people, he was such a good wrestler, they just overlooked that. So Maybe that's the case with her, but hopefully she can just get back on the straight and narrow. And she still has a long, like I said, I think she's 30 years old. Like, don't quote me on that, but she still has a lot of time left if she can keep it together. And she could be in a major company, be pushed as like a top star for years and years to come if she could figure it out. So I wouldn't be surprised. It just depends on her out of the ring behavior.
Yeah, no, she is 29 years old. You are right on that. I think she was she's a 95 kid as well, actually. So I think her birthday's in March or May or something like that. So she's only 29. And I looked that up the other day because I was shocked because I mean, we were calling for her to be hired by WWE or AEW well before the allegations came out, obviously. After that, I'm thinking absolutely not. Obviously. But prior to that point, she was very likely headed to one of those two companies. She was involved in the first ever All-In pay-per-view back in 2018. She was involved in the Mae Young Classic, as you mentioned. It's hard to believe at that point she was only 23, 22, 24 years old. That's nuts. And 5 years later, that's a waste of 5 years of your career when you really could have just come clean a lot sooner. And, maybe she privately apologized to some of these women, but I think a public apology is owed because as far as the public knows, and we're the ones that are consuming these products that she's on, she might still be very much a bad person, and she doubled down in a lot of these situations to what you said. She, put out a T-shirt at some point. I think on Pro Wrestling Tee, she had a T-shirt that said, nuclear heat. Embracing the fact that people did not like her, which is definitely not fucking smart at all. And it's not just the racist stuff. Obviously, that's the tip of the iceberg as far as how bad. I mean, that's definitely the worst thing I think she's been accused of. Not that the other stuff isn't that bad, but there were rumblings of her being a pain in the ass as far back as the Mae Young Classic, because I think it surprised a lot of people that she was in the Mae Young Classic and that WWE didn't hire her right after the fact. That seems a little weird. You're in the Mae Young Classic. She came across like a star even then. That was back in 2017, dude. That was 8 years ago, and they didn't hire her after that. And then even after the post-TNA stuff, she went to the Women's of Wrestling promotion that they were supposed to be building that whole show around. And then she got canned from that too. That was like her pet project. That was like her redemption project to kind of rehab her image. And then she got distanced away from that too, probably because it didn't go her way or she had some sort of issues. And I guess there were rumblings that she was mean to people there too. So there's a lot of shit she's got to work through if she hasn't already. And if she has, she's got to be more public about it. Because if she can, I think she does have a bright future in either of those two companies. And to the point that people are saying, well, what if, and also Alexis wrote in the chat, hashtag fire Tessa, by the way, which I thought was funny. I did not agree with the decision to bring her back at TNA. I did not agree with that decision to bring her back at all. But I will say, though, with people saying after that Genesis match on Sunday, like I said, she got "You're a Racist" chant, which was, I don't know if I've ever heard that in wrestling before, which was great. But to people saying, oh, she would get that in WWE and it might get bad publicity, why would they hire her? That's assuming that people would be chanting that a couple years down the road. Like, it could be 3 years down the road, it could be 2, it could be 5. If she is on her best behavior, I would find it hard to believe that obviously wrestling fans don't forget, nor should they. But I would find it hard to believe she would still be getting that sort of reaction a couple years down the road if she does not say stupid shit and she can kind of endear herself back to at least some of the fans. So not everyone's going to forgive her. I don't think she should be forgiven at this point, honestly, like you said, until she comes clean about a lot of her shit and a lot of her negative behavior. And, young and dumb, I agree with that too. Some of the stuff is more, heinous than others as far as the shit that she's been accused of. But she's gotta own up to it. That's kind of the case. So I guess we'll find out in due time as to whether that situation will work herself out, but it all starts with her and her behavior. I've heard that so far in TNA that she hasn't made any waves and whatnot. At the same time, though, she's only been there for a month, so it's going to take a lot more than a month to rehab that image after the, reputation that she's earned for herself in the last 5 years. Speaking of drama... Oh, no, go ahead, Mr. Marceau, sorry.
TNA, we're kind of in a compromised situation. They're starting to lose a lot of talent. I kind of understand. I guess, if anyone was going to do it, TNA was going to jump on the grenade. I also feel like eventually she deserved a second. I don't think eventually she did deserve a second chance. You just cancel her forever. She at the time she was 25 years old, so she can't wrestle ever again. I don't know. Like I said, I think an apology would have went a far way, but not giving her another chance, I feel like a little stiff. But I'm kind of glad that TNA did, and hopefully she learned from her mistakes and can move on from there.
Yeah, well, listen, if she wasn't given a second chance, I can't say I would be too sympathetic towards her just because she hasn't done herself any favors since that whole situation went down 5 years ago. It's not like she went on this public apology tour saying, I was a bad person, I'm on my best behavior now, I'm trying to redeem myself.
Well, when
No, like I said earlier, I agree. It has nothing to do with us specifically, but I think she should. I think it should. Someone should say like, all right, listen, she's not the same person she was 5 years ago. That's my point. Because like,
I mean, I've seen she went to WWE. Sure, before she even went out, like you said, communication stuff. She's like not a piece of shit.
yeah, I mean, I want to make this comparison because it transitions into my next topic for you. Britt Baker from AEW, and I talked about this a bit on hashtag on Tuesday, but the report came out from her on, not from her specifically, obviously, but on either Monday or Tuesday about her status in AEW, and she's apparently been a pain in the ass for Tony Khan. Now, obviously, she doesn't have racist allegations against her from years ago that she never really addressed publicly and whatnot. Her can of worms is a whole other sort of thing as far as backstage drama, which we've been hearing about dating back to the Thunder Rosa feud a few years ago. That those two didn't get along and Thunder Rosa was being bullied. You kind of saw signs of that if you watched that AEW drama show, that reality show they did a couple of years ago. You can kind of see like where it stemmed from and Britt Baker not really helping the situation. I'm not saying she's an awful person. I don't know her personally. I know Alvarez came out the other day after the report came out saying that Tony Khan was fed up with her. That's why she's not on TV. Because she made that comment about Serena Deeb saying, oh, nobody cares. And then other people were making the excuse, well, that's what her character would say. What was wrong with that? And I'm thinking, I don't know if that was part of the plan, though. I feel like that was her just kind of being a dick. But, I could be wrong about that. But I don't think it's a coincidence that we have not seen her on AEW television since then. And then it was being reported, not being reported, but people were kind of jumping to conclusions saying, well, she's gone. Well, there's a difference between she may not be brought back and she's gone. She's definitely not gone. She's definitely still there. And then Alvarez, obviously of Wrestling Observer, newsletter, alongside Meltzer, came out and said the whole situation was blown way out of proportion. Which honestly, I don't really necessarily agree with. I feel like where there's smoke, there's fire. If there's been reports about her for years being a pain in the ass for the talent and for management, I could see that being the reason as to why she's not on TV right now. And just relating that to the Tessa thing, I bring that up and, kind of relate the two. Because I could see Tessa going to, I mean, it's gross that I would even have to say that I could see her there before Britt Baker. But honestly, the talent with Tessa, I could see them bringing her in because she might be a higher priority than Britt Baker. Because people were saying, oh, if she's gone from AEW, then clearly she can go to WWE. Yeah, at some point I could see her going to WWE. But if the women in WWE may not like her because she's a pain in the ass in AEW, some of those women have worked with her before. They may not want her there necessarily. But it's not really up to them. WWE can hire her regardless. My bigger point is, if she's not that exceptional of a talent as Britt Baker, and she is very good, and she's, obviously, improved and whatnot over the years, she may not be worth the hassle bringing anytime soon, unlike a CM Punk. And it's not a male-female thing. Punk was just the bigger star than any of these people that we've talked about. And despite all the negative stuff against him in AEW, they brought him in, they took the risk, and so far it's worked out. Maybe all of these people, if they were in WWE, would be on their best behavior. But I just don't know if it's worth it for WWE to bring in Britt Baker right now. So I know I said a lot there, Mr. Marceau. I just want to get your 2 cents and just also just, I guess, a response to what I said on the Britt Baker stuff as far as the reports of her having heat in AEW and these people jumping to conclusions about her being WWE bound at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like it's a recurring theme, though. I bet she is a pain in the ass and she doesn't want to do the job and things aren't interested to her, so she wants, like, the Serena Deeb stuff. And it all depends. At the end of the day, it's all the direction of booking and where you see yourself. I mean, Tony, we've heard from Punk's mouth, is not a boss. And if you try to find Tony, you can't find him. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. So it sounds like these talent get frustrated, and then he just shuts down. I mean, the problem is, like, I bet you she is probably a pain in the ass, but anyone in this business is probably a pain in the ass. Everyone wants to go over. Everyone wants to make the big bucks. Everyone wants to be a star. So, like, people have egos. It's kind of like the pro wrestling business, especially back in the day when you weren't guaranteed money. Like, people were cutthroat, and you had to do what you had to do to get to the top and stay at the top. So I bet she is a pain. She also has been with the company since day one. She was, like, their women's star, and obviously over the years they brought in more and more ex-WWE people. So, I mean, I don't blame her for being kind of territorial. She was the one that they built the company around, and now they're bringing in these other people, and now Tony has new shiny toys that he sees better than her. And I mean, nothing for nothing, she's not the greatest in-ring of all time. So I mean, that doesn't help her at all. But
Yeah.
I do think she's a decent talent. I would probably bring in Tessa over her. I think Tessa obviously has her baggage as well, but I think she's a better in-ring worker, and I could see her at a main event level higher than Britt. So if I had to pick between the two, I'd definitely pick Tessa, but
Which is wild to say, by the way.
If I was WWE,
Yeah. I mean,
why is that wild to say?
well, no, I'm saying I agree with you. If I'm of the two, I would bring in Tessa as well. But I think it's just wild to say, considering the baggage that Tessa has, which I would say is even worse. But she's just a better in-ring talent. So I'm just saying I think you're saying the same thing. From a business standpoint.
Like a star.
Yeah.
I could see her main event WrestleMania like Charlotte or Britt. Like, I think
Me too.
I like Britt. But like you said, I also don't think she's like people saying like she's definitely going to do WWE. Like, she is good, but I don't think she's good enough that outweighs like.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if she went to WWE, maybe she'd be on a better behavior. But I mean, I don't think they obviously like overly need her. Like, I think she is good, but I don't think she's great enough that I'd like rush out together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I feel like she obviously is a big enough name from AEW that I could see them maybe wanting to bring her in for that reason. But quite honestly, Jade Cargill already fits that bill. I mean, Jade Cargill was also a homegrown talent in AEW. Even more homegrown than Britt was, because Jade she didn't wrestle at all before she went to AEW. Britt obviously did. She actually did a couple NXT enhancement matches years ago. She was on the indie scene for a little bit before she went to AEW. But anyway, as far as Tessa is concerned, I just feel like she would be a bigger priority for them. And they already have Jade. They're already focusing on her, pushing her, former tag team champion. She could be the next big thing. Honestly, I don't think either company right now, even AEW themselves, dude. I do think when you mention Tony Khan, I agree with that. He's got to be more of a boss. That is the underlying, common denominator amongst all of these situations. He's got to grow up, work with these people, talk to these people, whether it be a Ricky Starks, who is not getting television time, by the way, over Jeff fucking Jarrett, who was all over the show last night, but that's a separate issue. He's got to be able to work the shit out as opposed to just saying, oh, I'm going to throw my hands up in the air and this person's a pain in the ass, but we're not going to have him on TV. Okay, listen, I think it's stupid to have these people under contract. I know what Baron Corbin said on Twitter the other day, like, oh, you sign a contract, you're there till it's over. I mean, we say that all the time. I completely agree. But at the same time, if you don't have plans for these people and you just don't want them to go to WWE, then either you know what you have and you're just purposely not using them, or just let them go. Like, who gives a shit? I just don't really see what the big deal is. So with Britt Baker, either let her go if she's that much of a headache, or fucking use her on television to your advantage. I just don't really understand that. But, I could see her going there down the road. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. But, yeah, she may not be gone now, but I do feel like at some point she could be in WWE, especially since in AEW, honestly, they don't really need her. Like I said, they have a deep enough division. WWE also has a deep enough division. I don't think either company really needs Britt Baker. They don't need Tessa Blanchard right now either, especially. But of the two, Tessa might be more the bigger pickup because she's just a better talent. Like you said, I could see her headlining a Mania with a Charlotte Flair or a Becky Lynch or something like that. Britt, I don't know. I mean, her style might work better in WWE, but I don't see her headlining a WrestleMania. I don't think she should. But, anything can change, I suppose. A nice you know what Britt Baker might need, dude? A nice redemption run in TNA alongside Tessa Blanchard. Maybe they can work with each other and redeem their images. They can rehab their images together. Blue Kyber Crystal in the chat said, Tessa not only hasn't apologized, she has continued to deny what happened, that it happened to this day. She acts like it's rumors. If she does that publicly, she hasn't apologized in private either. So there you go. I don't know. We don't know that as a fact, but those are just the internal reports. I thought I do remember. I don't remember. I don't know. I followed that whole situation with her since it happened 5 years ago. I don't remember if she said anything else about it since then. But yeah, she did deny it at one point. And again, if it's just a one person against a one person thing, this person did it to me and she denies it. Honestly, at that point, we don't really know the truth. And on it, we'll never really know the full truth of what happened. We weren't there. But I'm just saying enough other women have come out and said, yeah, I witnessed this. And they're not all going to band together to cancel Tessa if it's like she's already been canceled enough, so why double down on it? So I don't doubt for a second that it happened, but she hasn't really come out and said, yeah, I'm just a different person now. I don't really think it happened exactly the way that these other people are saying, but, I've tried to make good with that person that whatever. I think she did. She may have made it publicly better or privately better with the woman that she was in, like the whole racist stuff, I think. And if she didn't, then that's just awful, and they should probably they should probably fix that before she goes any further in wrestling. I can't see her going to either company before she can figure that shit out. But, maybe they might be of the mindset time heals all wounds and people will move on, even though a lot of people simply do not forget about that stuff. But also, listen, that's just the fact. I'm just saying over a pure business standpoint, Tessa Blanchard's the bigger step up. Yeah. I don't know if I would. Well, I'll say this. I'll throw in an asterisk. If this is January 23rd, 2025, if I have to hire one of them, I would hire Britt Baker right now. Even today, you would hire Tessa. You would. So listen. So in Genesis, she got the racist chant. She would get that in NXT. It's the same audience essentially. You can't. I would not bring.
You go right to the main roster.
So the main roster fans want to know about it. You're saying? I mean, they not everyone. No, I know. Obviously, I'm not saying a vast majority would, but I know for that small section of people that do, in like the Royal Rumble or something. I mean, that's not good. I don't think, like, if she showed up in the Rumble and the hardcore fans are there and they're chanting that stuff, that's just not a good look.
I would still bring her over Brett.
All right. I know, but listen. You can't make money on someone that's getting... You can't... Not on someone that's making the headlines on the New York Post for past racist allegations, which that could still happen 5 years from now, but it wouldn't be drudged up as quickly if she was getting those chants upon her debut in 2025. Jermaine said in the chat. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying I don't know if I would do it right now. But hey, she's young enough. I mean, it could happen at some point. Yeah. No. Maybe I should text her dad and let him know what he's getting himself into if he sees her on TV one of these days. Hey, listen, you're not wrong. She is young. Hey, just as I would not bring her in right now, but I have said, and you mentioned this as well, she's only 29. She's only 30. If she still keeps going and she doesn't get herself canceled again, she's given a second chance. We can't take that back. She's been given a second chance. What she can ruin is this opportunity. She can ruin it for herself, is my point. So, I mean, she's young enough to where if she really works on herself publicly and really rehabs that image, which is important, maybe privately she's an amazing person now. We don't know. But publicly, she just has this reputation that she needs to get rid of. It's not the same thing as Odyssey Jones, who also has shit against him as far as allegations and stuff. But he never put his foot in his mouth. He never came out about WWE and was like, oh yeah, they fired me too quickly. Fuck them, blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, he stayed quiet. Apparently, he's worked that whole thing out. I could see Odyssey Jones back as well. I mean, I guess he cleared his name or something like that. I mean, I can't say for a fact that he's 1,000% innocent. I'm not a fucking judge. I have no idea what the exact details of the case are. And no one really does because WWE never commented on it. But I just bring him up because he never really came out and, doubled down on it or, whatever. He was quiet about it. And then when it was resolved privately, he then came out and was like, yeah, it's been resolved. So whatever. And I could see him back at some point as long as he doesn't, say anything stupid. That's kind of the key. Jermaine said in the chat, I thought Tessa Blanchard did apologize to the female wrestler in person, and she was just wrestling in Mexico trying to make amends and get back into the business. I mean, that's what I thought too. I thought she apologized to that one specific woman. I think her name was La Rosa Negra. She's in NWA. I believe she apologized to her privately. I think La Rosa had said that. I don't know if Tessa said that. So you might be right about that. As far as I don't think she ever apologized publicly. I don't know why she wouldn't. You would think that most people apologize publicly before they do privately, which is not good, obviously. But you would think she would have at least done that or made that clear. Maybe she did. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but hopefully that can, you know, she can work on herself and they can figure that out, because I do think she is a very talented performer and I could see her in WWE as long as she doesn't fuck up this opportunity that she's been presented by TNA. So also on the women's wrestling front, Mr. Marceau, another name that was in the news this week, specifically yesterday, Alexa Bliss. We've been talking about her a lot. I even told you 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think she'll be back next week. And sure enough, when I told you that, she was actually scheduled to be on that show. The show that I told you that she might be returning at the San Jose Raw, not the Netflix one, the debut, but the following week, which would have been last Monday. But apparently, reportedly, per PW Insider, plans for her return were scrapped, that she will not be back with the Wyatt Six. Do not expect her in the Women's Royal Rumble, and do not expect her on TV anytime soon. Well, that fucking escalated quickly. I mean, that sounds like she's not coming back at all at this point, which is weird because it sounded like she was. And Alexa Bliss is very reactionary, so I could see her coming out publicly and saying, hey, this is the reason why, or don't believe that shit, blah, blah, blah. I am on my way back. She hasn't said anything yet as of us speaking right now, to my knowledge. But PW Insider is pretty credible, so I definitely believe that. It is weird that they would go from bringing her back a week or two ago with the Wyatt Six to then not having any plans on the table for her return whatsoever. So this whole situation is weird. Unless she got pregnant again or something happened, which is totally possible. Well, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, she had a kid. Unless she's, she found out she's having a second kid, which is totally possible. That could delay her return. So we don't know. But barring that, I heard she is good to go. They just don't have anything for her, which is really weird. So what's your take on this whole thing, Mr. Marceau?
Yeah, the direction they're going. I mean, like blood spewing out her, black blood spewing out her head was not for me. So, I mean, I guess it really depends on what they're gonna do. I think she should be brought back. I mean, she's a big fan favorite, and like I said, depending on how they book her, I feel like she could get over. Like I said, the whole Wyatt Six thing, I'd be pretty skeptical on, just because they don't really even use that act a lot. I feel like I haven't seen him on TV in a while, so bringing her back to kind of align with them, I mean, how much would that really do for her? But if they brought her back to like the Goss Alexa Bliss, I feel like that would be like marquee, because even if you're not pushing her to the top, at least like she has some accolades, you can kind of use her to prop other people up. But the fact they have no plans for her is kind of mind-boggling, especially if she was just about to come back. Unless, like you said, I know the Wyatt Six did move to SmackDown, which we haven't seen them on SmackDown yet, so
Yeah.
maybe they decided to move to SmackDown, and it kind of like threw a wrench in the plans. But like I said, I'd kind of be against her joining them anyways.
Honestly, though, I wouldn't be against it just because, I mean, obviously it would make sense given her past history with Bray Wyatt. They already have a female member in Nikki Cross, so, I mean, they don't need her necessarily. But at least it would give her direction out of the gate, because the last time we saw her on WWE TV before she announced her pregnancy was at the Royal Rumble, actually, almost exactly 2 years ago. And on that day, when she was on that at the Royal Rumble, she was, I think, either after the match or maybe it was earlier in the build of that match. I don't remember. She was confronted by Uncle Howdy, and a lot of people thought it was building to her reuniting with Bray and The Fiend and that whole shit and whatever. And obviously never happened. Bray was off TV after. That was Bray's last match as well. Alexa Bliss's last match on WWE TV to date was also Bray's final television match, which is kind of eerie. But that obviously never materialized. But I could see her back with Uncle Howdy and those guys. But if she's on her own as the goddess, I'm not saying I don't want to see that. I think you could do a mix where she was kind of doing the Bray Wyatt shit before she got pregnant 2 years ago, but she was also still a heel and not doing the shit where she was wearing like the 12-year-old's clothing. That was weird. Like when she was doing that in 2011, that shit was garbage. I'm not talking about that. But like the 2023, late 2022 version of her, I think would be interesting. If you do bring her back as the goddess, though, what do you do with her? I guess that's the bigger question. Where does she fit in?
I mean, I'm not the booker, so. Like a tribute act. They're not really going anywhere. So putting her with them, she's kind of going to be like twisting in the wind like the rest of the group is.
Yeah, they got to figure out what they're doing with that group. No, I agree. I'm not saying it's the ideal position to be in, but at least being in that group would at least give her something to do. I mean, they were feuding with Karrion Kross's group, and I'm not saying it was the most exhilarating storyline in the world, but at least it was something on TV. and then they just fucking moved away from it. They just moved away from it, and then they drafted the Wyatt Six to SmackDown. They never really gave them their win back either, because the Wyatt Six lost, and that was it. And I was like, okay, this doesn't really sound like it was thought through all that well. They got transferred to SmackDown, and they weren't on SmackDown last week, despite it being a 3-hour show. So honestly, I don't know what the fuck they're doing with the Wyatt Six. I guess a clearer question would be, not that what do you do with Alexa Bliss, but like, where do you see her fitting in? Because honestly, with the talent they have in WWE now, specifically on SmackDown, there's just so many women that are better than her in the ring and just a better overall. I mean, she's very popular. I'm not saying she doesn't have her fans, and I think Alexa Bliss is. I've become a big fan of hers, obviously, as well. But I think there's other women you might prioritize over her. It's not like the women's division is missed a beat because Alexa Bliss hasn't been around. Let's put it that way. But do you think now that we have women's mid-card belts, that she could be a good fit in the mid-card division in either Raw or SmackDown?
Yeah, I would say so. I think for a moment, I see her more at a mid-card level. Obviously, she was a main event level, but I feel like it's gotten a lot better and been featured more prominently. So I would say if she came back, be more of a mid-card level. I kind of say the same thing with Carmella if she ever came back. Mm-hmm. Similar thing, like she was a world champion in her time. Like they were kind of just building new stars, and she's good, but I do see a lot more women at a higher level than both of them right now. So I would say mid-card level would be where I see her.
Yeah, that's probably the best place to put her at this point. Not best place, but that's probably where I see her logically fitting in. Jermaine sent in a comment. Thank you for the chat, Jermaine. He said, I'm more skeptical on what WWE is going to do with 5 women's titles on the main roster when they can't even book the women's tag titles right or give us any consistency with the women's world championships. Would you agree with that? I mean, the mid-card belts so far, so fine. I mean, I say that, but then again, I guess they crowned a new women's IC champion last week in an 8-minute match, and then Lyra wasn't even on the show this week. So I can't say I'm overly optimistic about those championships right now either. The U.S. championship's been fine, but the IC title, it's been only 2 weeks. But I didn't really, I mean, we discussed this before we went live. We were talking on the phone beforehand, and we were like, yeah, that wasn't exactly ideal, especially I know you're a big Lyra fan, and you were probably pissed about that.
Yeah, I wasn't get like a celebration or something. I mean, like, if they're going in the direction of Becky, I guess you just want to hold it out a little bit longer, but maybe you should just push the tournament out a little bit longer. I mean, the U.S. title stuff's, like, fine. I'm not a huge fan of Green or Meechin, but I think it's fine for what it is. The tag belts at this point, I would just throw them in the trash, especially now that you have women.
Seriously.
Mid-card titles, like the tag titles. Yeah. They just don't have any teams. Like, they're defending them on NXT next week against Jackson and Legend, who are, like, an actual team, but, like, I don't know. There's not, like, they don't really prioritize men's tag team wrestling, let alone women, so I would just move away from the women's tag belts. Now that you have the mid-card belts, I would focus on those more than the tag belts. I know that they're like the token, get a match on every PLE card. Like, they just throw the women's tag titles on. But I would just move away from them. Like I said, I think the U.S. title stuff's been good so far. The IC title just crowned 2 weeks ago, so I'm not going to be like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it just started. But when they advertised Lyra, I thought she'd, like, be in ring or would get some kind of angle. And with the 1-minute VTR, it kind of pissed me off.
Yeah, like you said earlier before we went live here, you said maybe they want to drag it out and they want to bring in... Because I was thinking the first time that Lyra comes out as champion, Becky might confront her, and obviously Mania's not for another 3 months. I mean, we're being overly optimistic here. I don't know if that's the Mania match. I really don't think it is, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it is a... they're going to do Lyra. I doubt Lyra will even be on the show. It really should be Lyra and Becky. That's the more appealing match to me over Rhea and Becky again. But, I mean, it's a possibility. We can't really fully judge it until we see it play out in the coming weeks. Blue Kyber Crystal, thank you for...
I wouldn't even be against... I wouldn't even be against like banana peel, like...
Yeah.
Like, kind of like he beat Io, but it wasn't like a clean win. But, yeah. I mean, her with Io at Randy, I wouldn't be against either.
Yeah, no, that would be an option as well. I mean, they had a... Yeah, I was going to say they had a good match. I was thinking of Dakota Kai because they had their semifinal match. Did Lyra beat Io in the semifinal? She did, right?
She did. She did it like she rolled her up, like she rolled Becky up, and see what she did her for the like she did like the bridge.
Oh, right, yes, okay. I was mixing that up with their other matches from because they also had that semifinal match in the Queen of the Ring tournament too. So I was thinking about that. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, she beat her in that semifinal for the title tournament, and then she beat Dakota Kai in the finals ultimately. But yeah, no, I'd be fine if they run it back. As long as Io's on the show, she's like one of the few women that's actually consistently over. I'll take her at Mania over, let me check my notes, Pure Fusion Collective. And that garbage. Sorry. Sorry, it's just not working. Blue Kyber Crystal had sent in the chat saying, Why at 6 debuted strong like Bray did numerous times and have just disappeared. If Alexa Bliss returns and works with them, it would give them much needed life, at least at first. Yeah, I agree, but the problem is where do you go with it after that, though? I mean, they already have Nikki Cross. Yeah, it would inject new life into the group. First of all, they should book the group more consistently. They're barely on the fucking show. But second of all, if Alexa Bliss is with them, that would be nice. But it's like, then where do you go from there? Like, what is she going to have do not will that into existence, please. That's probably going to happen, but that would be no thanks. That would be awful. God. Probably. Well, the thing is, we've already done that. We've already done that. They're going to have these new characters, and that's something different. But, oh, my God. They've been tag team champions how many times? Twice? 3 times? God. The more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess. Fucking dumb. Blue Kyber Crystal sent in a chat saying the mid-card titles are shorthand for the audience to care and to build contenders for the world championships. They desperately need it as very few non-main event women get reactions on TV. Here's the thing. I agree with that and I disagree with that. I know you agree with that as well and disagree with that as well, Mr. Marceau. In the sense that, yeah, mid-card titles help get women over and whatnot. But to be fair, I mean, they haven't had women's mid-card belts until now. You can get other women over without championships by, I don't know, just telling good stories, right? I mean, they haven't done that, though. That's the problem.
No, yeah. I mean, I think you can get people over.
Yeah.
Like, it all depends on the booking. I mean, there's plenty of people, if booked correctly, the fans will gravitate to them. It's all in the booking. I mean, even with Lyra, like, even before she won the title, I would think out of more of the women that called up recently, she probably was getting more of a reaction than most people. So, like, yeah, was she amazing? No, but, like, at least she was starting to get, like, a general reaction. Obviously, she has, like, the entrance that people can kind of get into, but depending on the women, even, like, Io, like, some of the women, like, can kind of just generate their own aura and fanfare. Others, it's a little bit tougher, but like I said, if you book them in a compelling feud and people like get into it, that you're gonna win them over. It's the same with the men. Like, I mean, I think like Kaiser's like a perfect example. Like, he kind of got himself over to the point now. Like,
yeah,
he's good enough wrestler that like, and his character work's been good. And like, yeah, they've kind of split him away from Gunther, but I feel like this is probably the most he's gotten over since being called up is when he kind of split away from himself. And I think you know when you see him somewhere with like Io, like you're gonna get a well wrestled match, and their character, like, I think that's kind of what helps too. Like, you know what you're gonna get out of it. But some of these other women, you don't really have a reaction because you know they're either not great or like you just don't care. And then, like you said, you get the pure fusion people. Like, I don't know, none of them really do much for me specifically. It sounds like none of them do a lot for most fans. So that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, you have Ludwig Kaiser getting over organically on his own, and then you have Giovanni Vinci, who can't even get catering on Friday nights.
I forgot he was still employed, honestly.
Alexis also said Wyatt Six are supposed to be temporary, but you would think they would want to keep them strong while they have them. I agree. She said, Ludwig, you mean John Pilgrim. That's a Punisher reference. I agree with that, too. You got time, Mr. Marceau, for Saturday night's main event predictions for a couple minutes here, or do I got to let you go? All right. Okay, we'll get to that in just 1 second. Wrestling Fan 13 sent in a chat. Said, hey, Graham, good morning. As it pertains to the Wyatt Six absence on the Fightful's The Hump yesterday, Sean Ross Sapp said, one of the members is sidelined with an injury of some kind. I mean, okay, that gives some clarity, but at the same time, though, there's, how many members? 4 or 5? I mean, there's like 5 of them, or 6 if you throw in Alexa Bliss. I mean, you could still have the group on TV. I mean, that's kind of the benefit of having like a 5 or 6 person group. If one of them gets hurt, you could still put the rest on TV. It's not like the Bloodline, Tonga Loa is hurt, we can't put fucking Tama Tonga, we can't put Jacob Fatu on television. Tonga Loa is out injured. We got hold on, everyone. We got to put the Bloodline on hold. Tonga Loa is out for the next 8 months. No more Bloodline for a little while. I mean, they can still put them on television. I don't really know if that's obviously that's legit. I mean, I'm not doubting that for a second. I'm just saying on WWE's end, that's not an excuse not to fucking use them. That's just stupid to me. But anyway, predictions for Saturday night's main event coming up on Saturday, Mr. Marceau, live from San Antonio, which is why Shawn Michaels is going to be there, moderating the contract signing for the WWE Championship match coming up at the Royal Rumble between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, a ladder match. Shawn Michaels is going to be there to oversee the contract signing. And there's got to be a reason why they're doing this at Saturday night's main event and not on SmackDown. Not just to get Cody Rhodes on the show, but Nick Aldis specifically said on SmackDown last week, I don't know if I can properly pronounce the word, but he said he was adding an addendum. I think that's the right way to pronounce it. Like a contract change, essentially. What that would be, I don't know, because it's already a ladder match and both belts are already above the ring. Maybe it's that if whatever belt you pull down first, that's the new permanent championship going forward. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know why the fuck he said that. They're not changing the match. But that's what they're doing. So how do you see this playing out at the event on Saturday with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens? Is this a standard contract signing, or are we getting some sort of an angle that affects the change at the Royal Rumble Championship match?
I think it's just a normal contract signing. I think they want to get Cody out there, getting Shawn out there. Well, maybe some people to watch, and I mean, the men's top storylines, you should get it on the show. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, what else would you change? It's a ladder match, 2 titles. Like I said, I guess you could do an angle, maybe put in some kind of, like, doubt that Cody could win. I mean, I think Cody's winning just anyways, but, like, maybe, like, they still do the ladder match, and, like, Owens, like, pilmanizes his legs, so they're like, oh, shit, Cody's got, like, fucking broken legs. You're gonna be like, oh, they can do something like that, like, the put in doubt that Cody's not gonna win. Cody's gonna win anyway, so that's a spoiler for 2 weeks, but, like I said, maybe you do some kind of angle to kind of put it more in doubt that Cody could win a ladder match.
Yeah, can we just, I mean, we'll talk about the Rumble predictions next week, but there's absolutely no fucking chance that Kevin Owens is winning. I mean, I know he confronted Sami Zayn on Monday night. I didn't want to spend too much time on that because I got to let you go soon, but Kevin Owens confronted Sami Zayn, and he said, hey, listen, if you can help me, I'll help you. And I don't think Sami Zayn's going to help Kevin Owens. He could come out there and then maybe not help him, but I think that was designed to set up Owens and Zayn either for Elimination Chamber or WrestleMania, right? That's the best way to get there, is with Owens saying, oh yeah, we're pals, why wouldn't you help me? And then Zayn doesn't do that because that's not the right thing to do. It looks like they set up Owens and Zayn on Monday's Raw, and that is absolutely 1,000% not going to be for the WWE Championship. But I think that's a good match for Mania, though, if they don't do Owens and Orton, which they could also do as an option.
No, I completely agree.
Jermaine mentioned, I'm wondering, are we getting 5 women's title matches at Mania this year? Because if you don't have the women's mid-card belts at Mania, then what are we doing? Dude, I'm telling you right now, I know there's 2 women's mid-card belts. I honestly don't think, I think it would be a stretch to say, I'm not saying they shouldn't be defended at Mania. They got 2 nights. You could totally defend both. But I think it's a stretch to say that both belts will be defended at WrestleMania. I don't. I don't see that happening. I think I could see maybe Chelsea having a multi-women match. I would be surprised if Lyra even makes the card. Or if we get Lyra and Becky, I would be surprised if Chelsea Green made the card. I hope they both get on the card, but what do you think the likelihood is, RJ, of both women's mid-card belts making Mania this year?
I think they'll both make it, but one of them.
Yeah. I also don't think Bianca and Jade will still be champions by Mania, or Bianca and Naomi, and then they'll probably drop the fucking belts. They should. I don't. Why have a tag team title match at Mania? Those belts mean nothing. Stupid. And also, do you see the Winged Eagle Championship sticking around for Mania so Zayn and Owens can be for the championship? Or is it... yeah, Wrestling Fan 13, I appreciate the chat. That's not for the belt. That's definitely not happening. Not happening. Here's the toughest match to predict here, Mr. Marceau. Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax Women's World Championship. I know you're anxiously anticipating this matchup. Who do you see going over here?
We're doing this.
What? What's the point? I don't get it.
Name, yeah. I mean, I got someone for Rhea to beat. Rhea wins, LOL. Hit her with Riptide off like the middle rope, and people will go, "Oh my goodness!" But besides that, I don't really know why you're booking this match. Besides Rhea winning and maybe getting like a cool Riptide on Nia. Besides that, Rhea wins, and we move on.
Fucking stupid. Absolutely no reason to revisit this, but it should be a good match. Their match last year was good. Rhea's absolutely winning, but they couldn't come up with any other... Like, it's bad enough that they don't have any challengers for Rhea, but they got to pick someone from SmackDown that we've already seen before face Rhea. Like, what's the fucking point? Just ridiculous. Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu. I'm looking forward to this match. Their reactions on SmackDown as of late have gotten great reactions. And I think this could be a fun match if booked properly. But obviously, Jacob Fatu's got to go over. Only his second singles match in WWE on TV, behind the Jey Uso one right before Survivor Series. Easy win here for Jacob, but this should be a fun one, right, Mr. Marceau?
Yeah, this could be a fun match. I think we need, maybe we're seemingly getting a Jacob solo run. On the solo part. Where it's on SmackDown, maybe Jacob's the new guy. Like I said, besides him facing Jay, we haven't seen him in singles action, so I think this is a big win for him. I think Strowman's done good work since he's come back, and it's a big win, no pun intended, on the big SOB. So, Fatu wins here, and I think, especially with the cable big NBC crowd, I feel like that could help prop Jacob up a little bit more. I think people know what he's capable of. I just watched the weekly product, but I think this could help expose him to a bigger audience. So
Totally agree. The guy's a star. Time to take off with him. I could see him facing Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania. This is a step one in getting there before they even split up Jacob and Solo. What they did with Solo last week on SmackDown was dumb. The whole speechless thing was stupid, but hopefully they can follow up on that pretty quickly. Last two matches here for me, Mr. Marceau. Only 4 matches unless they announce the 5th one. They have 5 segments if you include the contract signing, but this is predictable, but I could see a potential title change here. Braun Breaker and Sheamus again for the Intercontinental Championship. Does Sheamus finally win the belt, or does Braun Breaker retain? Before I give my prediction, I'll ask you, who goes over?
I gotta hit you. Predictability. I feel like I'm looking at Sheamus. I feel like with Braun, just won the belt. He's complicated it so often recently. I feel like he has to win, but then with Sheamus, I feel like people are like, he needs to win too, so it's kind of, I'll go with Braun, but I think people are going with Sheamus.
Sheamus would make for a great moment. Honestly, though, if he doesn't win here, it's not over. I don't think he's going to get another opportunity at Mania. I don't think they drag this out till Mania for another 3 months. They've already been feuding for the last 2 or 3 months. This is it. But listen, Sheamus just re-signed for 5 years, so he could always win it in the next 5 years. They shouldn't wait until 2030 to give him the championship. But I could see Sheamus winning the belt next year or the year after. I don't think it needs to be here, but if it is here, that would be awesome. Braun Breaker, hey, listen, maybe he loses the belt here and is a dark horse to win the Rumble. How about a swerve? How's that for a swerve?
If he loses the belt, I could see coming out.
Yeah, that would be the only reason as to why I think they would do it, other than just to give these people a surprise title change, which they should have done in the last Saturday Night's main event, but they didn't. Before we get to the last match here, Blue Kyber Crystal said the U.S. title could get on Mania if Jada or Bianca take it off Chelsea before Mania. They could. I don't think they should, though. I feel like Chelsea shouldn't get beaten that quickly, and Bianca and Jade don't need it. But maybe that's a possibility. Wrestling Fan 13 also said, I'm really looking forward to Jacob versus Braun. I'm just curious how their in-ring chemistry will be. That was my question as well. We'll see. Hopefully it's a fun match. If Bronson Reed and Braun could have great matches, I think that'll be fun too. And he also said, I think they hold off on Sheamus winning until Mania, honestly. I don't think they would. I thought that originally, but if they were, then I don't think they would be doing that match here. And Alexis also said, please, for the love of God, give Sheamus the belt. So, Mr. Marceau, if you want to see an Alexis meltdown, let's hope Braun Breaker wins on Saturday. Gunther Jey Uso, World Heavyweight Championship. Who goes over here, brother?
This is an easy one. Jey wins hands
down. Wow, Jey Uso, new champ. So I'm going to hear yeeting tears if he loses on Saturday. Is that what you're telling me?
Stupid. Like you said last time we got no, pretty surprising if we don't get another one. I feel like they're kind of leaning into that Gunther is beating Jey twice. He can't beat him, and he's a loser, and Gunther's better. So I could see Jey just getting a surprise win here, hold the belt like he did for the IC title for like a week or two, and just drop it back to Gunther. I don't know if maybe Drew gets involved and tries to go after Jey and accidentally gets Gunther, and Jey gets a fake win basically, and then lose the belt back to Gunther. But I think 2 back-to-back Saturday Night Main events with no title changes would be very disappointing.
That would be tough. You don't want to establish this as, let me check my notes, Battle of the Belts. I think you need a title change once in a while. It would make for a great moment. I don't know. I don't think the timing is ideal because Jey would just have to lose it in 2 weeks or something. I don't think he's walking into Mania with a God forbid. Hey, maybe Jimmy and Jey WrestleMania rematch, this time for the World Championship. Does that scream main event to you?
It could be Jacob versus Jay.
Jacob and Jay, okay, that's a possibility. Hey, listen, if Jacob could win the Royal Rumble, you never know what might happen. But I'm going to go Gunther. But if Jay wins, great moment. I'll be thinking about you. We'll talk. And we'll see you on Saturday. I'm looking forward to the show. We'll talk about it right here on WrestleRant Radio next week. A lot to get into, all the news and notes, in addition to the review of Saturday night's main event. So, listen, brother, always great chatting with you. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
See you later, man.
See you, pal. Take care. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here on WrestleRant Radio for January 23rd, 2025. Always awesome chatting with Mr. Marceau. We had some audio issues to start on my end. My Bluetooth was fucked up, so I apologize to Mr. Marceau for that. But we should be good, and hopefully it's been working for the last hour. So unless you guys have any more chats, be sure to send them in. And I can answer them real quick before we go off the air. I will say a couple things here. First, new episodes of the show every single Thursday, as I just mentioned, on WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com. Wherever you get your podcast, you can download the audio of the show after it goes up here on YouTube on Thursday mornings. Sometimes it's early Thursday mornings. Sometimes it's around noon. You never know when the show might go live. Same thing with Hashtag on Tuesdays. Same thing with the SmackDown reviews on Saturdays. If you want to be notified anytime a new live stream goes up or any new video goes up, period, you can be sure to hit the bell button and be notified every time we upload new content or go live here on the channel. I think the plan as of right now, I forgot to say this to Mr. Marceau while we were still chatting before I hung up on him, but I think the plan for next week, we'll see. I'll actually be flying out to Indianapolis for Royal Rumble weekend at this time next Thursday. So I'm hoping to record it at the hotel room. If he's free, we'll chat that day. If not, I'll probably have to go solo, but we'll figure it out. I will probably be live at some point on Thursday. I might pre-record the show, but it's all a matter of what's going on going into Royal Rumble weekend. So hoping to do a live WrestleRant Radio from Indianapolis next Thursday for you guys to enjoy. But otherwise, I think that's about it. Be sure to support the show, support the brand, get a t-shirt, ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant, WrestleRant.com, where you can find all my reviews, find the store as well, all that other great stuff. And as I said a moment ago, we'll be live again on Saturday for a SmackDown review, very likely, because I don't think I'm doing a SmackDown live review on Royal Rumble weekend. I'll be busy. Obviously, I'll be in the city, so I think I could do a WrestleRant Radio. Don't think I can swing a SmackDown review on Saturday, but we'll probably do a something else instead that day. I'll probably put up another video. So, but we will be live this Saturday, very likely. Don't know exactly what time, but like I said, hit the bell button to be notified every time we do go live, and you can join us on Saturday talking SmackDown from January 24th, 2025. So, I think that's about it. We're going to hit the intro here, see if it works. And if it does, we'll catch you right back here next week on WrestleRant Radio. Thank you guys so much. Have an awesome one, and we'll see you then.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.